All right, guys. So hopefully I fixed the video. It had some weird setting going on there that I don't know what it was, but it's hopefully this is fixed now. So we went ahead and went through the theory. So the theory class again is just going over the fact of that we're hunting the market for spreads, right? Whether that's a mistake from the realtor, mistake from the seller, or if we're dealing with sellers directly, they're just simply selling to the mistake with sellers when we're hunting for off-market deals. Their mistake really is that they're not going through a real estate agent and somebody like me and marketing it out on the open market. Um, because the open market is what's going to drive the highest price. Now, with that said, sometimes selling off market is smart from the seller, simply because off market deals tend to generate this excitement from investors like they're getting this really great deal. And so that's why a lot of times I'll encourage off market people, be like, hey, investors really like off market because they feel like in their mind they're getting a better deal if it hasn't been exposed to the market, even if the price is higher. It happens. I've seen it. Um, so, just because somebody's selling off market isn't a mistake. A lot of we'll do that a lot of times. We'll sell off market, but the overall theory is that we're hunting for spread. So I think we got that. I just want you to look through when you're doing your work. Start looking at it through that lens, and then it'll really start to really give you focus on what we're doing. So let me get rid of this video. Let me see here. How do I get rid of this dang thing? Just there. I don't know. Get it over here. So um, right now, let's jump into mastering your craft. So the next level is for you guys really to start to build up your confidence so you're more engaged with these agents and getting these properties under contract, or you're even signing counters for me. You're moving into that next level where you're truly an acquisition specialist. You're the guy that's putting these properties under contract and doing what it takes to get them under contract at the right price, and then shifting those off to me or whoever the sales arm would be at the time. Um, so there's really three things, and I've done this over the years. I mean, I've been doing this, what are we going, 15 years now, and I've done this periodically. I just do this naturally, and so I wanted to put together a class and how I really fine tune what I'm doing and mastering the market. Because at the end of the day, we are students of the market. That's what we are. If you're in any kind of investing game, you're really a student of the market. If you're investing in stocks or futures or real estate or whatever it is you're doing, you're studying the market constantly. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we get paid for, as that we're experts on the market. And so I want to get you guys going. I want you to really be spending an hour a day starting to really hone your skills. And we're going to do this for the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to come back to this and see where you guys are at. Maybe do a Zoom meeting. We're all on it, and we can talk openly about what we need to do to kind of move this forward. So the first thing is, I'm trying not to get too long-winded here. I've had too much coffee. But so the first thing is that we're going to study our past successes and our failures. Past successes, and you have to bear with me. I'm going to do some fine tuning as we're going along, because I just put this class together. I've been really mulling it over for the last couple of weeks. But you guys have been keeping me so busy, I haven't had time to really put together this class so we can kind of advance what we're doing, which I'm not complaining. So we want to study our past successes and failures. So when we get a property under contract, when we sell a property, when I go out there and I sell one of your guys' properties, jump back in and take a real good look at that, because you just succeeded. You just got a success, and it's important to study what you did right. and go back through it. Just don't keep on blasting offers. Take a break, spend 5 minutes, and jump back in there and see what look at that one again, and see what we're doing right. It's important because that's what will give you confidence when you actually run across another property that we're getting close to being under contract. You'll have that confidence built up because you'll know that this property will sell at a spread because you just did this. So study your past successes. We're going to do that on one property, and then obviously go through. You learn the most off what we failed at. Because if we're sending out 100 offers and we didn't get one property under contract, obviously the market's telling us something, that we're doing something wrong, and we need to analyze that and look at it. So what I'm trying to get at is through this training that we're going to do, I'm going to kind of trying to move you guys into more of just, instead of just putting out offers for Brian, that you're more free thinking, and you're starting to move into that student role where you're learning and studying the market like I do every day. I want you guys to do that. So and I'm going to have you do an hour a day doing that, and of course I'm going to pay you for it. I'm not asking you to do this for free, but that's how important I think this is. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and I'm going to do a couple of our last successes, and we're going to take a look at those, and then I'm going to jump into the spreadsheet and look at some of these last failures as our first step. And then I want you to spend an hour a day doing this, the next day do an hour doing this one, and next day do an hour doing this one, and then the rest of the 2 weeks just pick whichever one helps you the most. But to just give you a high level look, we're studying our past successes and failures, then we're studying the market, and then we're studying our competition. So let me go ahead and pause this. I'm going to jump into this first property, and we'll look at what we did right. All right, so this first one that we're just reviewing is this Jackson Street. So Solomon and I did this one this maybe a few weeks ago. And so anyways, so let's just take a look here. And I'm just looking at it like we always do. But while you're in here, you might as well see if there's anything else we can pick up. But let's go ahead and take a peek. I didn't really see anything that was really interesting. So let's get down. Hold on one second. All right, so we're just reviewing Jackson. Sorry, I keep on getting cut off phone calls, but so Jackson, just to go over this one real fast, this property here, and it needed quite a bit of work. So they originally were listed at $615. They're extremely overpriced. We put in an offer at, gosh, I think it was we were like high 400s, and then they reached out to us and we started negotiating, and we ended up settling at 5, and then I stuck it out there at 505, and so we would look for a nice 5K spread, and so let's see what we did right on this property. So just looking at this property here, we weren't the lowest sold, but we were definitely the lowest sold with that much square footage. So these other square footage right here is, at this lower price, were right here. So when we get to 2,200 square foot, we were right in that range in the low solds for that type of that square footage of house. And then just comping this property. So let's go back to our criteria. And I'd love to look at these again because it just gives you a really good idea of what you're doing right. And so we got 10 matches. We might as well go out a year, give it a quick comparison. It only gives us one more property. And so here we are. And then our comps. So I'm going to thumbnail this. This will make it quicker. So our comps, this is a pending. They're at 450. That might be one we missed, huh? Just yeah, that one definitely. I wonder if we had an offer on that one, but anyways, here we are at 500, and so 690 or I'm sorry, 960, dyslexic here. Um, I don't usually go at the very highest. It's a two-story. So let's just go ahead and take another look at this guy. All right, so we're looking at this just Jackson Street. So, here is what helped us sell this house, right? So we're looking at this, and right behind us is this, it's a flip, right? This guy bought it at 515, sold at 690. And this is the same house, basically same, ours even a little bit bigger. So this helped us sell our house. And look, this is actually a great example of maybe a little bit of a mistake with our success. Because looking at this, I'm kind of scratching my head to why I went out at 505 when I should have been like 515, right? Look at this guy, 515 and 690. This is a no-brainer to why I probably could have drove a much higher asking price out of this. So again, that's why I like to go back and look at these when you're out of the kind of out of the deal and just kind of sitting on the sidelines. It's nice to look at these because then you can really start to analyze what you did right and what you did wrong. So you guys did right by getting this under contract. The original offer, let me just pull that up real fast and I'll get back to you. All right, so I just pulled it up on our spreadsheet and I do remember this one now. Solomon had he noted this and he had a purchase price of 513. And then I renegotiated that price down to 500 and locked it up. And I should have stuck it back out there at like at least 510. So it's a great I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, so I left some money on the table, right? This is why I'm looking at this. But this also, as we're in this market, I'm looking at this. So Solomon did a great job right here. But I'm scratching my head to why we missed this one at 450. I bet we could have tried to grab that at 475. This is the exact same house, and then try to stick it back out there at 495. So this is not even on our sheet. It was completely missed, and it was on the market for 5 days. So I'm not coming down on Solomon. This is why we do this task, because when you go back and you look at the neighborhood, sometimes you'll see an active where you just sold and you know where you need to immediately be and you get after it. So right here we're seeing why did we miss that? So that we're learning, right? We're learning from just looking at this one deal of success. We're learning what we did wrong, and I'm learning what I did wrong. So, anyways, I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna look at one of Manib's, and then we'll go on to looking at some failures. All right, so this is one of Manib's one that is still, we haven't closed on it yet, but we have sold it to an investor. And I wanted to bring this one up because we're just going to do so much in Winslow Gardens that this is like the third or fourth property I've sold in there in the last couple of years. It's a very high turning market. So anyways, this one is one that you can see this old carpet, old kitchen, old paneling. It's just very dated, right? And this one's such an easy one to look at. You'll get to be quite an expert of Winslow Gardens because you're going to do so much in there. But there's always a ton of actives in there. There's a lot of inventory. Um, so don't just go to the very highest solds in here. You really on this square footage range, we need to be right here because this stuff sits. Look how much is above 240. And so what Manib did right is that he did comp this right. He went in and he comped this around this 230, 240 mark and came up an offer price here. I'm going to pull it up on our spreadsheet just to show what was done. All right, so here's that Alton property. Within that square footage range, Manib pretty much nailed it right on the head with 235. He didn't go to the very highest sold in there because which is okay as long as there's not a ton of inventory in there. So I'm pointing out what was done right, right? And this is why I want you guys to look at these and start asking you these questions, because you can see all this inventory above, 245. And this applies more towards Manib than it does Solomon, because Solomon, when you're dealing single family, it's such a hot market. You won't see this very often, but you'll see this occasionally in condos. But what he did right, he actually comped it right. And then the other thing, when you look at it, we got it at 265. So we're kind of sitting at the bottom of those solds, which is good. And the other thing that he did right is this was a bottom unit. This is an A unit. The B, so you'll see up here at the top of the solds, a lot of A's. People desire those bottom units, right? And you can kind of see that. And that's something you're not going to pick up on right away. That's okay. I'm sure Manib didn't really catch on to that right quite this yet, but you will in this area. You'll start to see it. But that's why you want to look at these and analyze them and see what's going on. So this is a bottom floor unit. It's an A unit, and the A units tend to sell quite a bit better, right? So you can kind of see that in there. But I won't comp it out. We don't really need to do that. But those are a couple of success stories. So when we get properties, when I sell properties, and especially one of your properties, take a good look at it and really see what's going on in there and analyze that. And while you're there, interesting, we've got this other 179, 189, 199. That's an A unit. So on these C units, you kind of want to be at that 150 mark, and then on those A units, you can be up to that 160 mark, kind of in there. So, but if you're falling within this range, we'll probably get it sold. So now let me go ahead and pull up a couple failures, and we'll take a good look at those. All right, so when we're looking at failures, you have to go back in the sheet at least a month, because these right here were done by Solomon clear back in July. If you try it, you can't look at your failures really here that we just put out offers, or even a couple weeks back, because they haven't closed yet. We don't know what price they closed at. So we need to go further back in the sheet and look at these. So this first one I pulled up is this one in Wheat Ridge. And so let me just point out what we're looking at here. I wish I could get rid. I don't want this thing here anymore. Whatever. So this Wheat Ridge one right here, it was listed at 550. Listed at original list price 550. They dropped down to 500. It sold at 490. Now, when we go down, let's look at what happened here with the closing information. So it says that the buyer had closing costs, so they did a conventional loan. I'm less interested in this failure, because this is probably a retail buyer. We'll get beat up by retail buyers all day long. That's not really what we're hunting for. We're looking down here. What would be more interesting is if it was a cash transaction or a private money or something like that. So, but when the seller's paying closing costs, that's a conventional loan. That's a retail buyer. We're just going to get beat out by these guys most of the time. But looking at this Wheat Ridge property, we came in an ARV of 625, and we offered 642. So we got beat out by a good 670. So $28,000 roughly. So let's move on to the next one and see if we can find something that's of more interest to us. All right, so this next one's actually a success story. It's funny, I marked it as one that I wanted to look at. This is one we sold. So this is a success story that we could go through. I think I actually did this one. I was having another assistant put out offers who didn't work out, and then I ended up taking it over, and we ended up getting this one done. But it's a nice little deal, but we've already looked at successes, so we're going to move on to the next. All right, so this next one is 2375 Ivanhoe. This one's very interesting. So I think this is probably from our lack of follow-up, or maybe we missed something. So let's see if we can figure it out. It was listed at 550. We had an ARV of 715. We put in a cash offer at 532, and this property sold at 520. Why did this property sell for less than what our offer was? Why wasn't our offer considered? These are the questions that are going through my mind, right? And this is the question that should be going through your mind. Not on top of that, they did a conventional loan on it. So, whereas our offer was cash, which is even a much stronger offer. So I'm just wondering what happened here. Let me take a closer look at it. But this is why we look at these failures to figure out how we can do this better. All right, so I'm going to chalk this up for the lack of follow-up. So I've talked about this before, where when we send an offer out, we need to follow up to make sure that they're getting it. So send a second email if they haven't responded in like 12 hours, a third email, send them a text message, something along those lines to try to get some kind of response. Now, this isn't on you guys or me. This is systems we need to build, and this is why we look at these, because here was so going back. So when you go into CTM, you can see what we did here. When you click on, let's go back to the CTM contracts. When you click on the email, you can see, right, if you click on this, you can see how many emails we sent, and that's it. We sent the offer, that was it. So maybe it went into the junk folder, maybe he never saw it. We probably need to figure out a way to do a better follow-up, because I think that's one that we just missed. So this is why we're looking at these. All right, so for further analyzing this 2375 Ivanhoe, that we were actually higher than what it sold for. Now, with that said, I want to maybe add a second point that what could have happened. We could have got beat out. They could have sent an offer at 535 and then beat them up on inspections and got them dropped 15,000. That happens. But staying in touch with these listing agents still will capture us deals on that. Anyways, so let's take a look at this here real quick. You want to definitely just look at the comps, see if you're spot on with the comps. Solomon came in at 715. I think that's fair. There's a 715 right here. It's not completely fixed up. Here's our property, which is kind of has a unique style, but and then there's this one over here that has 767. I think the ARV is fine, that we're looking at. And going back to results, so it sold with this square footage as one of the lowest solds with this square footage. But yeah, I mean, the lesson learned on looking at this failure is probably, our lack of follow-up. I mean, if we would have been following up on this, maybe we could have captured this one, So, anyways, that's all I'm going to do. You guys got the point. So you can just, when you're spending your hour doing this certain task, you're going to look at a few successes that we've had, but you're mostly going to spend a lot of time going through failures. So what I would do as I was going through this is just start picking out properties that of interest to you and checking them out and seeing what happens. So this is when we're taking a step back and we're stepping outside of the business just for a second and looking at it. We're looking in the business, we're looking to see what we're doing. So we're kind of taking ourselves out of the battle and we're planning a little bit, right? And then that way when we jump back in, we have better plans. So this is a good one right here, this Ivanhoe of a lesson learned, right? Here's a success story. This one didn't tell us much, but we got beat out by a conventional buyer, but this one told us a lot. And so anyways, I'm going to wrap this one up, this video, and then I'm going to move on to, let me pull this over, to the second one, studying the market. So we kind of did studying our past and our successes and our failures. That's one task. I'm going to move on to studying the market a little bit more. So I'm going to shoot this video over and we'll keep going.